Hi there, I'd like to share some brief words of Torah with you about both this week's Parsha as well as today. This week's Parsha is Parshat Tzav, and today, of course, is Ta'anit Esther. The Thursday before Purim, which comes out on a Sunday, we push off the fast from the day before Purim to the Thursday prior to it. And there's an idea, I believe, that connects to both of these days. The first one is about the Parsha. In the Parsha, we read about the burnt offering. The burnt offering. It says in the Torah, Zot Torah Olah, Al Mizbeach Kol Halayla. This is the Torah, this is the way in which you should bring the burnt sacrifice. It should be on the altar all night long. One of the early commentaries, he uses remez, or hint, to explain Torah. And he finds two different hints in this pasuk, in this verse, that I would like to share with you. The first one is the word Zot. Zot Torah Olah. Zot means this is. Another place where you see the word Zot in the Torah is in Shir HaShirim, King Solomon's Song of Songs, where it says, Mi Zot Olah. Who is this that is arising? In other words, who is arising? And there too, to explain Chazal, explain the sages, Zot is a reference to the Jewish people, who are, in a certain sense, unfortunately, and at times in our history, like an Olah, like a burnt offering, like a sacrifice that's completely and totally consumed. This is idea number one. Idea number one is, Zot is a reference to the Jewish people, that unfortunately throughout history, and as has happened recently in Itamar, we are sacrifices. Now, there's a second hint in this verse, where it says, Kol Halayla. Zot Torah Olah al Mizbeach Kol Halayla. It remains on the altar all night long. All night long, explains the same commentary, is the long ordeal of Galut, the long exile in which we find ourselves today. Exile. Galut. In a certain sense, this repetition of history, of where the Jewish people unfortunately suffer at the hands of their enemies over and over again, is unfortunately going to reoccur. When people die because they are Jews, one famous journalist died a number of years ago, not having lived a Jewish life at all, but he died because he was a Jew. He's got a very special place in heaven. That's a very unique facet of the Jewish people, that unfortunately we have to die on occasion, al Kiddush Hashem, or to sanctify God's name, but because we are Jews. Now, much more difficult than dying al Kiddush Hashem, which is what that journalist did, is living a life al Kiddush Hashem, or to live a life that sanctifies God's name in everything that we do, in every movement that we make. I want to connect this to an interesting idea about Ta'anit Esther and Purim as well. Today's Ta'anit Esther, as I mentioned earlier. Now, why is it called Ta'anit Esther? The fast of Esther. Well, why exactly is it that we fast today? So many people will tell you, well, if you look at the Megillah, what does it say? Esther told Mordechai to tell the Jewish people to gather together in the synagogue and take 3 days to fast. That's wonderful, except that number one, that was a 3-day fast. And number two, that happened in the month of Nisan, which is next month, not Adar, which is this month. Rather, explain the commentaries a different reason for why we fast. On the 14th day of Adar in Shushan, they fought their enemies. On the 15th day, they celebrated. On the 13th day, in preparation for battle, they fasted. Why did they fast? Because they recognized that it is not the might of the warrior or the technology of the army that enables them to succeed, but rather it's because their Father in heaven, God in heaven, answers their tefillot, and therefore they fast and they pray before going into battle. The bracha is that our battles should be done with, should be over. We no longer should have to fight these battles. We no longer should have to die al Kiddush Hashem. And I bet that if we lead our lives al Kiddush Hashem in the best possible way, sanctifying God and the Jewish people and everything that we do and every movement that we make, Mashiach will come sooner, and indeed we will leave this long ordeal, this long night of Galut, of the exile. And with that, I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom and a very joyous Purim.